Okay, now they can. Okay. Welcome Zapstream, welcome YouTube. Hello everybody, welcome to the second Bitcoin Film Club. Today with me we have three filmmakers on a different stage of their production. This is Pierre Corben. Hello Pierre.
Hello, hello. How's it going?
Pierre is the creator of The Fight for US Dollar, the movie which is in like 80% being done. Hopefully it will be done by our Bitcoin Film Fest in April in Warsaw. There is with us Alex Waltz. Alex is having, hello Alex.
Yo, what's happening?
Alex is having an idea so far, but he's gonna start shooting this fall. Satoshis Don't Exist. Quite unique and mysterious title. I hope he will tell us extensively what it's gonna be about and pitch us his movie. And we have Rob Johnson, the Bitcoiner movie. Hi Rob, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Guys, we are meeting here to show and help flourishing the Bitcoin cinema. I'm switching screen to present you at least our Twitter account, Bitcoin Film Fest. You should follow us on Twitter at FilmFestBTC. We are like trying to inform you all the time what's happening in Bitcoin cinema world, what movies are being created. We are helping filmmakers to get out to public, to screen their movies at conferences. And in our various various attempts to foster the growth of Bitcoin cinema, we are organizing this quite irregular, but at least second already episode of Bitcoin Film Club, where we meet Bitcoin filmmakers and discuss their creations. Let's start with the one who is the earliest on its stage of production, which is Alex. Alex Raw Avocado on Twitter. Your film is called Satoshis Don't Exist, and you just post about it. You have already poster. You did not start shooting yet. You are quite ambitious to have it done by halving, as many of the filmmakers. Tell us a bit more about this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I know the movie is kind of a bit cryptic and whatever, and I kind of wanted to maintain that. But really, I mean, the idea for the movie started out when I was talking with a friend of mine, and we got this idea that Satoshis don't exist. And we were actually so thrilled about this, and we started telling people about it. And everyone was so, I don't know, everyone had such a strong emotional reaction. So that's when I knew this could make a good movie. And then when I made my mind up that this is going to make a movie, we just started like, I needed to get all the people together to make, I just needed to put a team together. And before whatever reason, I started working on the poster design, and I did that, and that got a lot of attention, and that kind of like started the movie. That's kind of the story behind the movie so far, or at least the beginning of it. Yeah, the pre-beginning, I guess.
So what is it gonna be about? What is the main thesis?
Oh, what's it gonna be about? You know what? I don't like to answer questions like that because I feel like if I tell you what the movie is about, you're gonna think that's the only thing the movie could be about. So I'm not leaving room for artistic interpretation. That being said, what is gonna happen? I guess one way to say what. Oh yeah, I thought I dropped or something for a second. Yeah, so the movie is definitely something that should already should be indicated. But practically speaking, for an intellectual point of view, we are going to talk about, we're going to discuss and explore how Bitcoin transactions work at a very low level, but from a philosophical. And I actually think that how someone uses tools, really says a lot about them. And I think already the reactions people have with the title, it's really social.
I don't know if the connection problems are on my side.
I don't know if that answered the question. Where it was kind of an
having lags,
answer.
or is it just?
Yeah, I'm having lag also, for what it's worth. From a philosophical point of view, it really is about a movie about how people use tools. So hello?
I guess we have some.
Yeah, I don't know. I could hear you fine, actually, both of you. No
We have
problem on
some
my
loop.
side. So I don't
Yeah, I
know.
can hear you guys
Alex, do you
fine
have
too.
something to show about this movie? Is there any, like, I don't know, maybe you have some, how do you call it, this comics where you already plan some scenes? Was storyboard, right?
Yeah, well, I definitely am not gonna share that, or because I mean, I really feel that the way we're structured this, there are some things that should take you by surprise. So I'm not gonna share that. I have something to share, to be clear, but I wouldn't share like the meat of the movie. I will say this though, the movie. We're going to BTC Azores. We're going on the island, and we're gonna film some interviews there. And the movie, the closest thing to this movie that exists right now is kind of like F for Fake by Orson Welles, which there's some real things happening in there, and the author has like a pretty strong view on the subject that's been discussed, but also interjects a lot and highly stylized. So that's how it's gonna be. But what I could show you with you guys, I mean, the only thing we have so far is movie posters, to be honest with you. So I guess I could show the movie posters that I've made. Um,
Show us.
that would probably be the. Let me just share my screen right now. One moment. Now can you guys hear me well?
Yeah, I can
Yeah, I
hear it
can hear
without
you
any
just
problem.
fine.
All right, cool. Because there's a bit of lag on my side, and I'm not sure if you guys like or something was happening. We're listening. I was that captivating. Um, Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, I'll show you guys how I made a poster because, I really am surprised. I don't know why the poster got so much attention. People really liked it. Like everyone, almost everyone complimented me on the poster. Um, and well, I spent 2 weeks making it, so I guess that kind of made sense. Um, I did call the movie my love letter to Bitcoin. Yeah, initially I started with the mood board for this, and I kind of really I mean, the main way that I see Bitcoin is really that is a tool. Before anything else, it's just a tool. And I really wanted to, to have the emphasis on this thing, and I want the movie to feel the visual language of the movie. I want it to be incredibly man-made. So I feel like this kind of sets you in the mood for that, and also like the way I like them. Just even how I take photographies and stuff like that. I like very specific things, very one thing at a time, and I want it to be very specific and just shine one light on one specific thing. So maybe this also should give an idea of how I wanted, not only the general visual language of the movie, but even the poster to be. So then I kind of started looking at some posters, and they're quite standardized how people make posters these days, and they're obviously cliches. You have here the bodies leaning against each other, the legs, and then you just have the classical face thing. And I was like, I definitely don't want to make a poster like that because that's very boring. And then you can just see here that all these things, all of them look so similar. So I didn't knew what I was gonna do it, but I was like, I definitely do not want that. And then you can also see here the red dress, they're just and the blue color here that they do, and they do this in action movies a lot, which kind of makes sense. But anyway, but then something captivated me. I've noticed that the only posters that there's a category of yellow posters, those were looking better for whatever reason. So I was like, okay, maybe try to explore that. But then I was like, if I'm gonna do something, I need to think about posters that I like. And one person that's one of my personal heroes is Saul Bass. I have the book here. This is my Bible, by the way. Like whenever it comes to anything art, this is my absolute Bible. This man was a legend. He's my personal hero. So I started, and I like the way he designs title, but I also like how he designs posters. So I started looking at some of his poster, and they already have these characteristics that I want. It's just very one thing, very specific. There's a lot of emotion compressed into one scene, but it allows you to put yourself in it. So it kind of makes the art alive. So then I kind of looked around at some other posters that he did, and then, again, Saul Bass is just the king of minimalism. Like he just does a lot of things with such simple things. Here he has the lines and whatever. I mean, just he just does so much with his lines here in this poster. So I was kind of starting to get an idea, and then I just posters here, also the Django one and whatever. So I'm kind of trying to come up with an idea at this point. I'm like, okay, I think I know what I want to do. We also have the Silence of the Lambs here, which is the best poster I was ever made. So I know these were just posters I liked, and I was looking at them. But then I've noticed there's some people online that take posters that were made and they redesign them in this very minimalistic style, which is something that I like. And I don't think practically this would work as a movie poster, but they would work really well as an art piece. Like you could hang this, you could put this in a painting, in a frame, and put it on your wall. And I was like, I really wish that would happen. I really wish I could give that effect. And I was looking at all the others, like the Fight Club one, just so masterfully done, so simple, so elegant, with the soap here. So I kind of was thinking, you know what, I definitely want to have one thing, and I want it to be intense shape that it's it implies something else, or like at a sword or something. There's specific intent, and I wanted it. I wanted to feel it. I want people to look at a movie and feel that there's a direction. You're being pulled into some direction, And I kind of wanted. I also realized the movie is called Satoshis Don't Exist, and this is such an abstract thing, such a crazy abstract thing that it's so hard to deal with. And I kind of wanted to I wanted to have a metaphor of a metaphor, pretty much. So that was kind of hard. I didn't know how to do that. But really, the question was, how do you show something that doesn't exist, right? That this became an interesting artistic and practical problem at the same time. So then I was like, well, you can't show something that doesn't exist, but you can imply existence of something. And I played around with some concepts, and then I was like, you know what? I think I know what I'm gonna do. What an empty chair. Always, if you show an empty chair in a certain way, it implies that someone should be here, but it's not. And I like this yellow one for whatever reason. I just liked it so much, and I was like, okay, well, let's see what we can do with this one. And I was just starting playing around. It didn't really do anything for me yet, but then I mean, I'm a huge Tarantino fan, and I don't know.
Yeah, when I saw your poster, that's the first thing that came to my mind as well. It was Kill Bill. I could feel the inspiration coming from there, man.
I stole it. I straight up stole it. Great artist steal. That was that. But I mean, I just didn't know how to make this interesting, and I was just thinking, well, what is something similar? So then, I saw the Kill Bill poster. Uma Thurman, she's just ravishing in Kill Bill. She's just ravishing, and weirdly enough, it was after she had a kid, which is even more crazy. But anyway, so I'm looking at these things, and I really like this idea of the line. Again, it was also like what I was talking about Saul Best, so simple, so elegant. A line could do a lot of things. So I was like, well, let me just try to add a line here like they did. I knew I was going to add it here at the third, because I knew that was going to compose the image good, and this is going to be an interest point. I'm just talking practically. And I also knew that this is going to create separation. So I have something that's going on up and something down. So I started playing with this, and I really, this just looked kind of boring. I knew I needed the red, because I knew that the two most important colors that get attention is yellow and red. So I knew I was going to have to use these two. I mean, when I had yellow, I knew I was going to use red. I just didn't know how, and I just wanted, if you walk through this and you see it, you need to stop and look again. It's like someone pulled your hand, somehow. But that was in my head. I don't know if anyone, that's actually true. That's what was going on in my head. And then I don't know, and then I remember when I was having conversations with wrong, and then it would just almost feel like they would beat their hand in the table. They're like, Satoshis don't exist. And I was like, oh man, if I could capture that visually, that would be incredible. And I don't even remember how, but I write it like this, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if people are gonna catch it, but at least in my head it was it. So now this has rhythm, it has rhythm. I have the stripe, and then I had the names. So now I knew the poster started to look at like something cool. I also edited a bit this colors, but I'm not gonna get into that. I also hope I'm not rambling for so long. By the way, I don't know if this is taking too much.
We are waiting for the moment when you will release your movie and you're gonna talk about your movie for 10 hours. No, just kidding. If you put so much attention into making poster, I can't wait for your artistic endeavor. Satoshis don't exist.
Well,
I mean,
anyway,
exist is the biggest, so it implies that it actually exists, but somehow in some different way. But anyway, did you guys get what is this movie gonna be about? You gonna present like
No, I don't get it still.
where
It's about something
Satoshis?
that
Like,
doesn't exist, so that and the whole point is that Satoshis don't exist, right?
well, I don't know. I mean, the movie's gonna be about fungibility and how Bitcoin's transaction work. That's what I tell you. But you're gonna have to wait to find out what's more about it, you know. So yeah.
Alex, I think you're gonna
Weird.
have to set that chair, man. A lot of Bitcoiners don't even own chairs.
I think yeah. Is it a chair you photographed? Is it a chair you own, or is it some stock footage chair?
You know what? I'm so against using stock footage all the time, and I always give shit about it. But I didn't knew this was gonna turn out to be a poster, and it just looks so well. So it is a stock photo. Actually, I don't have this chair. But yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Again, if we're long on time, I have a few more things to show if that's okay.
go on. You can switch. We will not be
Yeah,
jumping.
we're
from
here
movie
for
to
2
movie. We'd
hours,
love
so
to
you know,
hear
I think.
what you have to share.
Alex, do you
Well,
think is it gonna be a feature length? Or do you think a short film? Do you have a length in mind?
it's definitely gonna be a feature length film, but mainly there's gonna be free people that are gonna talk about Bitcoin transactions, and then a lot of things around that, and at some point hint and address the title, you know. But yeah, but then after I did this thing, I was like, okay, I'm onto something. I listed in my head, and I knew this idea of the poster. So now, you know, I just try to add a lot of variations with this one, like really a lot of variations. There's a lot that aren't even in this document, but I think. So then I was after this, I launched the poster. It got a lot of attention. Like, ah, gee, now I guess I'm stuck with this Yahoo and whatever thing. I got to like solve the problem of like, how is this gonna? I just landed at this idea of coins. Even though usually when people use coins, they use it in stock photos. I said like, I think I can do better. So I ordered a bunch of coins that were old because I didn't want to have copyright, because I wanted to photograph this use on the poster in our media. So I ordered a lot of old coins, and this was the one I liked the most. It's a franc coin. And then I doubled down on this really hard. So we have two people, by the way. Big shout out to Wizard Sardine and to Cedar. Go and follow them on their Twitter. If you're doing multi-sig, if you're doing Miniscript stuff or DK multi-sigs, use Wizard Sardine. If you need to back up something into Steel, go to Cedar. Not just because they give us the support to make this movie, but just because they're the best anyway. So then I was like, I have to double down on this coin thing. And whenever we're going to announce something, I have to have a consistent theme. So then, you know, it was a big thing because, you know, Wizards are they're incorporated in Portugal, and Cedar incorporated in Germany. So I had to get old coins of this, and now I'm stuck with this. Like, who knows if we get some sponsors from some other weird place, that's going to be very hard to get. And then I like this idea of keys and coins. So then, you know, the people who are going to start in our movies, I took probably like, I don't know, like 15 pictures of different keys and stuff like that. Then each and every one can pick their own key, which they like. So Josie picked this one, you know. Yeah, and that's kind of it, I guess. This is the only thing I have to show so far. And there's a lot of pre-production things we have going, but this was the only thing I could just, you know, show that's visual and that's some sort of eye candy. And sorry if it was boring and took too long.
No, it was nice. I liked how you told the story about the poster. Actually, I have to come up with the same story for my poster, man. But I think also, yeah. Can you tell us a bit about, like, because you said you were going to Azores. That's the first piece of production that you're going to be doing.
Yeah, well, again, I should have clarified this. I was a bit all over the place. Well, I kind of feel this conversation about, well, you know what, the thing is, Bitcoin is very important, and the atomic unit of Bitcoin is Satoshis. And I mean, really, there's one thing you can do with Bitcoin is transact, and whatever that even means, there's this thing that clearly is important and that gives us the most importance. And I just wanted to go as deep as you can on this conversation. I wanted to go and turn it around, split the atom, if you may, and go as deep as you can. And I feel like this conversation, to have this conversation, I had to go to BTC Azores, which is an unconference. And I don't know. I don't. Maybe this sounds maybe a bit weird to say this, but I think the smartest people on the planet are going to be there. Or maybe I'm just saying that because I'm going to film them.
But do you want to interview
and
them?
I
Is it gonna be like what you gonna shoot with them? Nice. You want to have them, or you want to have nice landscapes of Azores?
we're gonna discuss. We're gonna discuss how we're gonna discuss. So the main thing is gonna happen. We're gonna discuss how Bitcoins work, how Bitcoin transactions work, and I'm gonna interview and have conversations with these people, and we're gonna talk about this thing because again, the intellectual meat of this, like if you would want a reason to watch this, is you really want to understand how Bitcoin's transaction functions, you know. So that's what I'm going there to do this, and I just thematically feel that this was the place to do this because it's so hard to get there and it's an unconference. Like everything about this event is so odd and wild and whatever. I just felt with the thematic of the movie.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I've heard the description from one of the guys from Wizard Sardine. He runs the Bitcoin meetup here in Bordeaux, and he describes the conference Azores as a meetup, basically, which is a funny way of describing a conference.
Yeah, it's very unstructured and stuff like that. So I kind of like it. Also, you know what? I personally am kind of after all these years, I played with all the surface level topics for quite some times. So it's just I can only explore zooming in on Bitcoin, you know. And I feel like the people going around there, they're also focused on type of intellectual exploration of Bitcoin. So that's why I wanted to go there. Yeah.
And this is such attention to detail. I don't know how you gonna finish it, but by Bitcoin Film Fest. So attention to
I'll finish it.
all of our audience. I hope you guys you already know that, and I know that you guys, many filmmakers, are aiming to release his movie before halving, because for the halving we are preparing the main Bitcoin Film Fest in Warsaw, our second edition of the Bitcoin Film Festival. And it's gonna happen together with the European halving party. So guys, see you all in Warsaw, April 20. That's where we aim gonna happen the halving. Of course, you cannot expect exactly when it's gonna happen, but our guess is April 20. Let's try it. Let's do European halving party in Warsaw. You can join europeanhalvingparty.com, and it's event done together with the Bitcoin Film Fest. So that's when we expect, well, so far 11 movies we discovered that could be done by then, and their creators claim the release will be before April. So even if 5 or 6 will be ready by then, I hope this is yours and yours and yours. So all 3 of them will be seen in Warsaw. But let's switch to the next stage of the movie.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Could I add one more thing about this, which should have been the most important part, actually? I got carried away with the poster design, you know. Yeah, I mean, you know, what was actually really odd about doing this movie, we realized that we kind of try to approach it kind of like a startup in some ways, because we realized like we have control over, we're making the movie, okay? We have control of the people who are going to be in the movie, and we're going to distribution. So then why wouldn't we just like why wouldn't we just try to like, so there's no entities between us and the viewer, pretty much. It's us and the viewers. So we're thinking, why don't we just try to like cut up all the middlemen and just try to get money from the source? So we realized actually that we could include in our movie a lot of Bitcoin products. And I know it sounds kind of odd, like really are you going to put a commercial in your movie? And it's like, we are going to do that. I think artistically is going to well. So we decided, so that's what we're going to do. The way we're going to raise money is we will show your products in our movie, you know? And if you want to do that, and if you're a company, reach out to me or to any of the people in the team, and maybe work up something else. That was the thing I should have started with, but yeah.
Yes,
I mean,
good search for sponsorship is quite important, right?
This is the most
Sorry,
not
Tomek,
even
go for
important,
it.
but probably painful topic in painful. It's the most difficult one, and I'm always wondering how you guys finance your movies. But I think we can open discussion, like the mutual discussion about movie making for the second part of our meetup. But let's introduce The Fight for US Dollar by Pierre. This is the movie that is in between, because Rob's film is about to be released quite soon, but Pierre is in between of those stages. So let's see how it goes at the fight for US dollar. Do you have some trailer for us?
Nice. Yes, I have a trailer. I mean, I think I'll first say a few words. I'll also show the poster, and after that we can go in the trailer. And after the trailer, we've actually got Neil. He's also online, and he's going to be explaining part of his experience, as he's the person that is now, putting all of the research that was done for the film. He's putting it in words and writing the whole script, which is a mountain of adventure for him. So I think he's got some interesting insights on that. But so The Fight for the US Dollar is the second Bitcoin documentary that I'm working on. The first one is called The Great Reset and the Rise of Bitcoin. That was, it's almost at 2 million views on YouTube now on all channels. And it was also screened at the Bitcoin Film Fest 2023. And so great film, I think, just that explains the economy and the role of Bitcoin in that. And of course, when you make a film that is nicely received, you want to make a second one. And so that's why I'm working on The Fight for the US Dollar. Actually, the idea came from a conversation with Samson Mao when I met him in El Salvador, where he was telling me, look, there's people that are actively trying to block the adoption of Bitcoin. There's a story there should be a film about that, and that's what got me started. The story of the film completely changed after that. Of course, it's still called The Fight for the US Dollar, and the idea is to show who are the actors that are defending the US dollar system, but just the direction that we're taking is different than the one that was originally that I originally went for. Because now it's mostly focused on, I explain it as a ladder where we just go up the fiat ladder, looking at the main institutions that are the World Bank, the IMF, the BIS, and how they work together to support the Fed, and how all of these together support the fiat system, and then explain kind of Bitcoin's role in all of that, which the whole new direction for the story was also like Neil came up with it to talk about this some more. And so when it came to so the stage we're at in the production, maybe I can start explaining about that. I've done 29 interviews, and I'm done with interviews because 29 is already a lot. I did some interviews in Bulgaria, in Edinburgh, in Miami, in some other conferences. I don't know. I've just been going to conferences in Prague, and every conference where I was, I managed to get a room there and be able to have people come on board. And I've interviewed the likes of, the big names are Saifedean, Lynn Alden, Jeff Booth, Greg Foss. There's also some. There's Natalie Brunel. Big interview that I'm relying on is by Sam Callahan that works at Swan. He did a lot of research on the BIS and the IMF. Very interesting. It was actually a 2-part interview. We spent 3 hours interviewing, and also Bitcoin Dad Pod. That is, he's just an anonymous Bitcoiner that has a podcast and has very high level understanding of Bitcoin, of course, but also just the economy and high level economy. So that's the trailer. Actually, if you want, you can turn it on with the volume. You can watch that. It's only 2 minutes.
Oh, you can continue talking. I just wanted to put it in as a background.
Okay, yeah, sure. So the trailer itself was a lot of work that was happening simultaneously with creation of the finished looking at the trailer, and the poster was also a whole adventure. I'm not such a artistic person myself. I always rely on other people to do that because they're much better at it. I'm better at doing research and then involving the right people that can put this together. And I have a great person called Thiago that does the animations for the film. We're going to look at some of these animations later too. And he's a Bitcoiner. He has 2 passions in life, which is mushrooms, for what do you call him, like magic, and Bitcoin. And he talks about these stories and spirituality him as a guest one day for Bitcoin Film Club, just because of his experience in the cinema world. So his typical clients are Marvel Studios, for example. And he's also worked on some Bitcoin content, such as Pleb Music. So, I mean, Max DeMarco, his most recent videos, such as the Noster documentary. And he really guided me all the way when it came to making the poster. Maybe actually I can show you the poster right now if I share my screen, Tomek. I hope that's okay. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I just turned off my camera. That's not what I meant. Share my screen. One second. Share. So I think you should be able to see it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So the fight for the US, directed by Pierre Corbin, of course, is a maze that is very hard to understand, and we're exploring it in this documentary. Yeah, but the original ideas that I had for this poster were more in the lines of what Alex was showing earlier, the typical kind of stuff. This was fully guided by Thiago again, that gave all the right ideas, and I loved the poster. I think it just looks great, and it was done not by me, but by a friend of mine that is not a Bitcoiner, but she's just great at any graphic design stuff. Yeah, so I think maybe we can just show the trailer with sound. I don't know what you think about that. Okay, so let me share screen. 1 second. Here we go. Going full screen. Sound is on. Can I just press play?
IMF riots have exploded all over the country.
The police have been deployed and violence has started.
Riots became so common due to IMF policies that there was actually a term for it, IMF riots.
The IMF is all about continuing the debt Ponzi scheme.
They were a threat to freedom, essentially, infringing on the sovereignty of sovereign nations.
Laws get drafted by a person that's living a very comfortable life in, I don't know, Geneva or Brussels.
You have the World Bank that provides advice to certain people that they lend money to, then they give them requirements on how they can spend that money. Similarly for the IMF, you have the Bank of International Settlements, which on their own websites describe themselves as the bank.
They're just proliferating and continuing the narrative that's actually hurting the system at large and hurting the people at the bottom and in the middle.
The IMF today exists to continue the neo-colonial relationship between the developed world towards the developing world.
Los mismos gringos, cuando yo estuve en el tribunal electoral, en efectivo me dieron dinero para financiar actividades.
It's the same thing, just a different story. It's the same thing, but a different resource. Ghana, Nigeria, Africa,
Zimbabwe, Ivory Coast, Bolivia.
En ningún momento el Fondo Monetario Internacional, el Banco, hacer que los países salieran del...
The computer can be used to set people free, or it can be used to control them.
Your time and energy should be protected by something as indestructible as hard as Bitcoin.
Bitcoin is outside of that.
Cambiar el mundo.
Bitcoin empowers the people, it can empower the nation and lift them out of poverty and debt.
Oh, this looks like a cinema thing. This is like action movie.
Yeah,
that's very cool. I like the music.
Yeah, it's actually the editor that is making the film. He also composed the music for me, and he's really good. And for the whole film, it's in fact his brother that is going to be doing the whole composition. The same guy that did the music for my first film. So close friends of mine that are.
Because Neil is connected with us. Neil, can you try to join us? We cannot hear him. We had some problems with the fourth guest, but I can see that Neil is in our control room.
Yeah, Neil should be here.
Okay, he's unmuted. So Neil, can you speak? We can't hear you. Okay, go on, Pierre. Then I guess we can chat with Neil, but we cannot hear or see him. So it's something. Well, technology.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, whenever he's here, I think it'll be his time to talk as well. But yeah, so for the music, it's the same guy as for the first film that is doing the music. Close friend of mine, and his brother doing the editing. He'll have bigger work in that case because for the first film, I did basically all of the editing, and then he just went and polished it, let's say. For this film, we're mostly going to be doing the editing together, but also I'm going to be relying much more on his skills with After Effects and other such tools that I do not have, simply to be able to make this just a more, you know, especially for transitions, that's kind of the important stuff when you do documentaries as well, especially a research-based documentary like the one that I'm doing, because there's going to be a whole investigation, just like the trailer mentioned it. And you know, you have to be able to go from a state of present where it is kind of me, you know, presenting the investigation, and get from you know, this investigation environment to you know, footage environment with animations and where the whole narration is happening, to go to the interviews, etc. Like, it has to be done flawlessly. In order to do so, there has to be the right transition. So that's really what I want to focus on. I have a lot of ideas for that, because I plan on recording an entire part that is not on the trailer. The trailer is a temporary trailer. There will be another trailer once everything else is done for the film, where, you know, I'll be presenting a bulletin board. We're going to be drawing lines as we move forward with the story, like a detective would on a map, putting the different pieces together. So, you know, when you put, if I talk about the history of the BIS, well, then you go back to the 1930s, you show some old images that you put on the map, and this is a whole transition opportunity to go into this narration scene and be able to, you know, just transport the audience this way quite flawlessly. And that's the idea for the whole documentary: be able to easily go back and forth, keep the right artistic look, and yeah, and mix all of the animations in that. And I don't know, we can see if Neil is here, because I have one more thing to show, but I know Neil can't stay for the whole length of the call. So are you there, Neil?
No.
Yeah, I think we can hear you, but very, very quiet.
Oh, hey, how about, is that better there?
That's almost too loud now.
Too loud, okay. All right, well, hey, guys, I'm glad we're getting through this technical stuff here. It's very difficult, right? But what is it? So I'm glad, anyways, you can hear me. What is it? Yeah, so we're working on this movie. I would say that we're about 75, 80% done the script part. So that's my job, right? So maybe tonight, maybe in 1 or 2 days, I'm going to be sending Pierre this first part of the script. So, like, he already mentioned this, that it is about the international finance system, mostly like IMF, Bank of International Settlements stuff, right? So in the final 20% or 25%, this is when we're going to end up talking about, you know, the future, what comes after. And then, like, that's the part that we are still working on right now in the script. But all this stuff that's IMF and Bank of International Settlements, a lot of this stuff is past history. And we can sort of, a lot of that can just be talked about, like, okay, this is a historical event and we know what happened, like petrodollar, what is this? We need to kind of explain that technically, what's going on with that and these different systems. But how do you do that in an entertaining way? You know, how do you not bore people to death talking about all these technical things, right? It's kind of difficult. So we have a few different things that we're trying to do with the movie to try and keep all this technical, like politics, like the different, like it's not just politics, like it's bureaucratic, boring bureaucracies, right? So what is it? You know, Pierre's talking about this idea, which is I think it'll really help keep things moving. It'll keep things interesting. Is this idea of visualizing Pierre's research process, where we're going to have him on screen and he'll be like, you know, as a detective, participating as a detective in the telling of the story. I guess there's one other idea. This is my main idea. I think that I've contributed to the story is the idea of the Leviathan, which we're going to move into. So Pierre, I don't know how well are you able to hear me here, and whether you want to talk about that idea.
Yeah. I think so. First off, we can hear you fine, but also feel free to explain the Leviathan character and.
Not sure if this is going through properly.
51.
You guys can hear Neil?
Pardon. But and so he has this very famous first cover image of this king who's towering over the countryside, and his body, if you zoom in on his body, he's like a giant man towering over the countryside kingdom. But if you zoom in on this guy's body, you can see that actually he is not just one man. He's actually made up of all these different bureaucrats who are part of his kingdom. And that was a very effective thing that Hobbes did when he was talking about government. This is what his book was about, was that you need sort of a titan kind of towering over the land, and there can only be one king. He didn't believe in democracy. But this is what he did. And so the image of the Leviathan is a very I think explanation of government, and we applied that to the current economic system we're under currently, the fiat system. And so we've created this Leviathan of economics, which we're going to be able to come back to frequently in the movie. And it's a very effective way of explaining and simplifying this complicated idea. So there's something strange happening on my video feed here where I don't know if you guys are even still there, but
yeah.
Anyway, that's my thing that I think I've added into the movie. I'm going to mute now, and maybe I hope things are still going nicely.
Yeah. I mean, at least I heard everything that you said all the way. Not sure about the rest, but yes, definitely. But no.
Yeah, we have some
Yeah,
with
same.
Server.
That's why it feels like it's not working.
Something strange.
I had the same problem. If you refresh it, it will put you back in. But I could hear everything for what it's worth. Everything was fine with Neil's sound.
Okay, nice. Yeah, cool. Well, yeah. So that's quite an important concept actually that Neil talked about, which is the Leviathan character that we have, because of course it represents all of the institutions of our world and of society, and so we use this image for describing the fiat system and all of these institutions that we're going to be looking at. Yeah, and so I'm pretty much, I mean, there was one more piece and I wanted to show you guys if interested, because we have the very first bit actually that Neil did for me was putting together the research for the intro scene that is going to be an animation scene that, as I mentioned, Thiago is working on. And I mean, I have some pieces I can show you of that, which is the whole audio of it with some music, not the final music. And there's the different animation pieces, so the 3D elements that were created by Thiago. And now what we're waiting on, I mean, the next step in that is actually animating this. So it's a 3-minute clip. It's the first time I'm showing that. So, I mean, if you guys are interested, let's do it. It's going to be mostly audio.
Yeah, sure.
And yeah.
Let's do it.
Screen share. All right, can you see a black screen right now? I'm not sure if I should press play, actually. I'm not sure what you guys see.
I could still see you right now, but I'm not seeing you and Tomek. That's all I'm seeing right now.
Okay, so I'm sharing my screen in theory. One sec. Let's do it differently. Stop sharing. So let's share again, because I want to share basically the entire screen. One sec. Okay, and if I change now, can you see something?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it should be all black.
Now we can see.
All right. Nice. So it's 3 minutes, and it's mostly audio, but I hope you enjoy it.
In a land far, far away, in a time long ago, there lived a powerful and mighty creature known as money. Money was the ruler of all economies, the master of trade and commerce, and the one thing that all people desired. But money was not always as powerful as it is today. In the beginning, money was a simple thing, used only for bartering and trading goods. But as time passed, money began to take on new forms, from shells and beads to gold and silver. And it was in the land of Lydia where a great king had the vision to create a new form of money, coinage of gold and silver, that money truly began to soar to new heights. The kingdom of Lydia flourished and was envied by all who saw it. But even the mightiest of kingdoms can fall. And so it was that the kingdom of Lydia was conquered by the Persian Empire. But the Persian king, impressed by the Lydians' coinage system, decided to adopt it for his own empire. In a far-off land in the kingdom of China, merchants had a new idea. They began trading receipts redeemable for precious metals, and in this way, they created the world's first fiat currency. But as with all fiat currencies, they were successful in the beginning, but eventually, due to the insatiable greed of money managers, they lost all their value. For centuries, money has been the ruler of economies, but its power has been abused by those who control it. And now, in this age of electronic money and internet commerce, money faces a challenge: the central bank digital currency, a new form of money that threatens to bring totalitarian control to the world. But is this the only path forward for money? Or is there a better way? The fate of money hangs in the balance as the Fellowship of Economies set out on a journey to find a new home for the powerful creature, money.
Yeah, that's it. Stop sharing. Yeah, so that's the the vibe that we want to create for the first animation scene, and all of the stills that you saw will all be animated into a nice 3-minute scene that sets the tone for what kind of environment we're looking at.
Nice, man. So this is like a separate project that you want to launch when?
No, so that's the intro of the film.
Okay, so it will be like okay,
Yes,
for the fight for US dollar, all right?
Yes, exactly.
That's nice. I wish maybe Rob, if you could try to refresh the connection because we cannot get you on the video.
I have a question.
Go on.
And like, how that you said you filmed a lot of like interviews.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said you filmed like a lot of interviews. I mean, I can't even imagine how hard it was. Can you share with us like what equipment did you use? Because I'm sure that was like hard stuff. Like what cameras and stuff. And
yeah. So that.
And how did you manage all the? Wait, the most important question. How did you manage to?
Yeah. So the camera, it's kind of all over the place actually because it depended on who was there with me to help me. So and that's part of it's a technical for people that don't necessarily know much about film as well. You want to usually using the same camera because otherwise you can tell the difference. And unfortunately, I've had some cases where the only thing I could film from was my iPhone 13, right? So the image is great, sure, but all of a sudden you're at 30 frames per second instead of 24, and and so then some other friend that was in Miami, my understanding was that he was going to bring a camera, but in the end we had to shoot this with his iPhone 14, which I think was filming at. No, it wasn't at 60K, no, but it was 4K, whereas mine for the same interview was filming in 1080p. So like a bit of a messy thing. It's not necessarily too much of a problem because it can be fixed in post, but that's kind of all over the place if I'm being honest. Which just you gotta do what you gotta do, and then stocking all of that. That's just got a few hard drives.
Yeah, I gotcha. I don't think that's gonna be that big of a problem because when you change from scene to scene, the scene is it makes sense to be different. So I don't think people are gonna be able to tell, right? So I think you're gonna be fine from that point of view.
I think so, and also, we'll see exactly how, but of course we're gonna have to put some color grading there, and the color grading is we wanted to be able to match the entire vibe. So both when I'm doing the investigation scenes, but also the animations, and so this is actually the very first color grading stills that I'm going to see as examples. They're going to be made by Thiago that is doing the animations because he's responsible for the whole artistic part of the film, basically.
Got it.
Whoa, this is you guys put lots of work into these projects. Let's see what is what are Bitcoiners, the almost ready project by Rob Johnson, who is also here with us. Welcome again, and I would like to hear your pitch. We've seen some trailers, we've screened them at the BTC Prague. You've shared some of them on Twitter. Something more, something new. What are the updates? When can we see your movie, and what is it gonna be about?
Yeah, well, so the film is finished, and it's called Bitcoiners, which I guess I'm announcing now. I haven't really tweeted about that. The film has had a couple different names throughout the production process. I started shooting it in the spring of 2021, and I basically just finished editing it. So right now I have submitted to several film festivals, and I'm awaiting one acceptance for to announce for sort of the premiere status. And throughout the process, I've shared a couple of trailers. I made a couple sort of early on. I intended for the film to come out and be released sort of much sooner than when it's actually coming out. I thought it was going to come out last year. But I've been editing the majority of the film myself, So it's just taken a really long time to do. And let's see, I've got some behind the scenes pictures. I've got a trailer that no one has seen yet. It's similar to one that did pretty well. It's the one that's still posted to the top of my profile, Bitcoiner Movie. But I got a new one that's updated that I can show. And yeah, I mean, I can talk about kind of any part of the production that you want me to. So
Oh yeah,
you want
show us whatever you want to show. Definitely.
Okay. Let me show you some pictures first. I always like behind the scenes pictures. Let me see. I guess I'll do the entire screen. Can you see this?
No.
Can you see a photo here?
No, are you sharing screen with this website that we are connecting with?
It's not a website. It's just some files on.
No. Are you are you sharing it with this? How do you share it? Because we don't see it.
Entire screen. There we go. Share. Okay. How about? Oops. Done with that one. How about this? Can you see this?
No.
You still can't see it?
No.
Okay. All right. Well,
I think what's happening, it only allows you to share in the browser or something like that.
Oh,
I think
in the
that may be
browser?
the thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
so that's maybe you
okay,
should try to
sorry.
add something in the browser.
Yeah, so I was gonna show you some pictures, but instead I will just show you this trailer.
All right.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, so this is minute 45, so I'll show you this.
One thing about Bitcoin, and I tell this to everybody, is Bitcoin exposes the truth.
First there was fire, then there was Bitcoin.
So you were really a Mexicanist?
Yeah.
Bitcoin can play a huge role in humans transitioning out of a society where war is still necessary.
There's no way God is not on our side to clean out all these parasites.
The culture of Bitcoin, certain principles that many Bitcoiners are attracted to. Extreme ownership, self-responsibility, very anti-establishment, disenchanted by the status quo of the world, a nagging feeling that the world is going down a bad path.
Very toxic.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
I don't know much about Bitcoin or any of the crypto.
You're part of a cult now, Captain.
People are really waking up about how this current system works.
Do I think there needs to be more women?
Do your own research.
Bitcoin was a threat. The true crime was that Ross put Bitcoin on.
Probably the biggest thing I worry about right now is a central bank digital currency. Frankly, the creepiest surveillance tool known to man.
The central bank will have absolute control, and also we will have the technology to enforce that.
Everything is good for Bitcoin.
I'd rather have the green cash.
Bitcoin's gonna get bigger, it's gonna get wider, and it's gonna spread far.
So there we have it, the Bitcoiners. I think we've seen this trailer at the BTC Prague.
Is that the one I'm saying you for Prague? Maybe it is. Yeah. You know what? Yeah, I think it is. I was gonna release it right after Prague, and then I didn't because I was gonna change the music and change a couple shots. But yeah, that's the one. That's basically what people saw at BTC Prague.
So
nice.
What's the tagline? If you would like pitch this movie with like 2 sentences to audience, so we can tweet about it.
Yeah. Okay. So this film is about the culture of Bitcoin. It's about personal stories, and it's about why people believe that Bitcoin can have a positive influence for everyone in the world. So that would be kind of the very quick pitch. I was interested in basically kind of like the initial idea was Bitcoin Twitter, the movie. And so I wanted to find some people that had really interesting personal stories and kind of focus in on what they're doing in their lives as it relates to Bitcoin. And I also have kind of the more experts, like Bitcoin influencer interviews sprinkled throughout the film to talk about different topics. But the film essentially follows just a couple of individuals, mostly in Austin, Texas, sort of what they're doing to advance Bitcoin in their own communities.
And what's your plan for distribution? Do you plan to just release it on YouTube and accept donations, or do you sell it to, I don't know, VOD platforms, festivals first, and then?
Yeah, I don't want to just put it out there on YouTube. I want it to film festivals first, and then after that, yeah, I want to get some kind of wide distribution. I want to sell the film or license it, ideally. I mean, I want to get it in front of as many people as possible. So I'm kind of at that process right now. Like I mentioned, I've started submitting it to film festivals, which a lot of the notification dates are within the next few weeks from now. So I'm hoping to get into one, at least one, ideally get into several, and kind of announce the festival dates and the screening dates soon. And then beyond that, yeah, I mean, I wanted to get distribution.
That's a good opportunity for me to mention that Bitcoin Film Fest will be present at Lugano Plan B Forum, and both Alex and Pierre will be presenting their projects. Do you think is it possible that if like there is no anymore prime release obligation from other festivals, you would be able to screen it with us in Lugano, because we are organizing a special cinema day on Sunday, October 22nd, and we will screen one surprise movie, few shorter movies, and it's like whole 5 hours or 6 hours of little Bitcoin Film Fest in Lugano. So maybe that's an option also for you to show your movie. If not there, we are also present at the Adopting Bitcoin in Salvador. So there is we are like trying to create some opportunities for filmmakers to be present at Bitcoin events, and we are arranging Bitcoin screenings at these 2 nice conferences. So I hope all of you will be eventually screened at the Bitcoin Film Fest, but Alex is pitching in Lugano. Rob, do you think is it possible that you will have it done by October 22nd or by November 5th, so we could show it at one of these conferences?
And you're really putting me on the spot here. Yes, I mean, I would love to come to Lugano, and if there are not any conflicts with premiering there, with these other festivals that I'm looking at, then yeah, I definitely want to show the film there.
Oh yeah, please let us know as early as possible. We are putting together the agenda, what's gonna be screened. And yeah, all filmmakers, whoever is watching us, is welcome to partner with us somehow, so we can together foster the Bitcoin cinema. Guys, I want to ask one question that is very often repeating in our discussion with filmmakers, because what we're trying to do with Bitcoin Film Fest is like building network of filmmakers behind the scenes. Like Hollywood also started with Filmmakers Association, so Bitcoin Hollywood kind of follows these paths. It's a necessary step, so we are talking with all of filmmakers we can get in touch with. And the most often discussed thing that when I ask them, hey, what do you guys need, what are your biggest issues or problems, is obviously funding. How do you guys fund your movie? How do you I'm wondering, like this even initiative as Bitcoin Film Fest, it needs some resources. We have to either fundraise for sponsors, or ask for donations. So when you guys go and donate to Bitcoin Film Fest at getalbi.com, I used Albi tool called Zap Splitter, and each of the Zap, whoever is watching us on Zapstream, please test your Zaps if Zaps work for you. Each of the Zap, every SAT streamed on Lightning Network should be split equally between the fight for the US dollar at Geyser Fund, between your Rob's LN URL and Lightning address of Alex. So please test this new technology. Please test how you can split Zaps and Sats. Send us some to bitcoinfilmfest@getalbi.com, so you will also support those lovely creators. I know that filmmakers are either, some of them are making money on doing advertisement videos, some of them they fundraise on Geyser, some of them are commissioned by TV networks to do some works. How does it work for you, Rob? How do you finance this movie? Because this costs a lot. Like, you need to go on site, like somewhere in Texas. You need to have a crew. Somebody's holding your camera. Somebody's holding your light. You need to travel there. You need to, like, when you edit it, you need to live. You need to support yourself. And I guess if you submit it to some indie festivals and then publish it on YouTube, there is not much revenue coming from like distribution of this movie. So I wonder, what are your guys' ways to achieve this? Because this is super great that we have such. I basically watch all of your movies for free. You know, I zap you some sats, but it's not like I pay for Netflix or I pay on VOD to watch. Like, I don't know, The Great Reset, the first movie of Pierre. It was just published on YouTube. I watched it for free 3 times, and I don't know if he got any money because I was using ad blocker. So let me ask first, Rob. How did it work for you? What's your way to fund your movie?
So there were a couple ways that the film was funded. First of all, I shot everything myself. So like everything you see in the film was my camera work, and I did all the interviews. I did a lot of the audio myself. But after I raised some money, I was able to hire local crews when I was going around to different cities. And like I went to the Bitcoin Miami conference in 2021 and 2022. The first time I went, it was just me. I had a production assistant on one day. And then in 22, I hired a sound person and hired a production assistant for all the days. So basically, I mean, at the beginning of it, when I had the idea, I just kind of went out and started shooting it, just, you know, paying for the expenses, basically on a credit card, to kind of get started. It was during a very low interest rate environment at the time. And after that, I started a Tallycoin, Bitcoin donation website on Twitter after I had started the Bitcoiner Movie Twitter account. And so I got some donation money that way, which I used to pay crew, like a sound guy in Texas. He accepted Bitcoin, a couple of the sound people in Texas. Really, I raised from some investors, and it was the first time I'd ever done that. And basically, I knew they're all Bitcoiners. Nobody that anybody would know. They're not like famous Bitcoiners, but I raised money to basically finish production, because at one point I had an editor on board, you know, just all the travel expenses and paying for crew and, you know,
how big is the budget of such movie, if I may ask? Because we are trying to launch Bitcoin movie database and have like a special website with all of the movies curated by us with donation options, and we want also maybe to open Bitcoin box office Moho, where we'll be tracking the budgets and incomes, revenue streams for such movies. But I wonder, like, is it like range of $30,000 or $300,000?
I mean, I think the range could be, yeah, that's a good range, but like this film that I made cost roughly $100,000 to make, which is like nothing for a documentary, like for a feature film. And part of why I was able to do that was because I shot everything myself and I did the majority of the editing myself too. So, you know, when you have like a full crew and like a full post-production team, probably, you know, like a small film completely done independently, I would say probably like 250K is what it would cost to have minimum, to have like a full-time crew, you know, producers, editors, assistant editors, travel, crew on the ground wherever you're shooting, and then like a whole post-production team and a whole distribution plan.
Do you share same insights, Pierre? Because you've released your documentary and you are about to do the one with similar, I guess, size and budget. How does it look in your case? Where do you fundraise your movie?
Yeah, so I mean, the first documentary, like I did everything myself. I don't count my time in the budget. Like it was that wasn't at all like the goal of it. So it cost me roughly $7,000 to do the first documentary, which is like, I mean, crazy cheap. You know, but thanks to that, with this cumulated 2 million views that I've had, I did, you know, make some money out of it over the long term. So that's fine. This new documentary, that's a bit different though. I've managed to raise for it $45,000 from different investors. I started purely on Geyser, and this is so basically, I was in touch with Brad Mills, which was my first big investor, and he's also an angel investor in Geyser, and you know, he like motivated me to start a fundraising campaign on Geyser, which I did, and after that, you know, we just stayed in touch, and he gave me the first 10K, followed by a friend of mine. He came to Edinburgh to help me shoot. Actually, he has so they're the Shy Kids that were on my trailer. They're a Canadian production company. They helped me with the next 10K, which was very nice, especially that he had to motivate his co-founders that are not Bitcoiners to like put just a bit of money into a Bitcoin film. And finally, Coinbits have a sponsorship / executive producer deal with me, and they committed 25K, which is like literally not enough. I'm lucky that everyone that is working with me is you know, working cheap. A lot of, I mean, I think because it's a passion project for myself as well, it's the kind of energy that I you know, managed to express well enough for people to lower their regular price for working on films, including some close friends of mine that I mean, they know that when I do something, it tends to happen well and get in front of many people's eyes, so they you know, they trust the fact that it's a good project to attach their name to. But I didn't raise enough to pay myself, for example, which is a bit you know, again, passion project. I've been working on this since April or May of last year, right? So from the first deck that I built, laid out the story. I mean, there's countless hours that I haven't paid myself for. And with the money that I have raised, I know that I can take the film till the end, but without paying myself a dime, right? So after that, you know, I have to be able to sell it in order to be able to make something out of it. But you know, the lower your budget, the more money you can make if you actually sell it. So the only thing that I focus on is quality, quality, quality. It's got to be the best freaking film that we can make, because I mean, I think the history is, I mean, the story is extremely important. Everyone can relate to it. And I think it has a huge potential. So that's kind of what I'm going on.
You're also crowdfunding on Geyser for the fight for $, so you guys can find geyser.fund, and you raised there from plebs, from regular people, 57,000 57 million Satoshi, which is around like 20, maybe $15,000, right?
Yeah. So from this, there's the $10,000 from Brad Mills. He contributed them through Geyser, and we have a contract signed outside of that. Yeah. The other big contributions that I have were outside of Geyser.
I also wanted to mention that I got a grant from Geyser Fund, a small grant, when they awarded those earlier this year. So I was able to use some Bitcoin to pay a designer that did the titles and did a bunch of graphics in the film. He goes by Plasma Bitcoin on Twitter. As well, and also I also have not received any salary for doing this film. I support myself. Sort of my fiat job is also in film and TV production, so video editing and cinematography is my background, sort of outside of this. So that's part of the reason why I was able to do so much of it on my own.
Nice. So
thanks for the stats, Tomek. Thank you.
Yeah. I sent
Appreciate
you
it.
just 5,000 sats, but I sent it directly to your movie. But again, reminder, guys, you can always zap us bitcoinfilmfest@getalvi.com, and it's gonna be splitted to all of the filmmakers. So Pierre, what was the budget of your first movie, and what is the estimated for the fight for US dollar?
So budget for the first film was about $7,000, and estimated for this one. I mean, I know I with 45K, this is the budget. I mean, this is what I raised. This is not the end budget, but this is what I know I can rely on. And I know I can get the film done for that. But I will need to raise more money in order to make sure I can take the distribution where I need it to be, because of course there has to be a lot of communication behind that. And although you can do it without a budget, it's so much easier if you do have a budget for that. So that's but once the film is done, then it's much it's already easier to be able to get this.
Oh, nice. How about you, Alex? What is your estimation? Is it your first actually movie, or do you have experience in estimating this? Or I don't want you know to expect that you're gonna spend just $5,000 and then you will find out, oh my god, I don't have money to come back from Azores.
Oh no, I mean, I never done any movies or anything like that. I've only done. I decided I'm gonna be a movie director about a year and a bit ago. But I've done 2 commercials, which I always point out to. I think they turned out very well. The one for Leon and the one for J Market. I think I could put him up to even any Super Bowl commercial. I have to, otherwise how would I justify it? But anyway, so I think I have a pretty good experience of how to estimate things and how to get things done with low money. I mean, again, maybe it sounds like I'm tooting my own horn, but I mean, the budget on those things was incredibly small, and everyone thought it was made by a crew or something. I made it myself. But regarding the money, well, when I first started, we had this idea for this movie. I went to Mark, who was gonna score the movie, and he's like, I don't care what this movie is about. I'll do anything it happens. I'll fly where you are. I'll sleep on the couch. I'll do whatever it takes. I want to see this movie. I know it's going to be the greatest movie. So that was great. And then all the other people that I talked with, they were like, I don't care what it takes. I want to see what this movie is about. I didn't even tell them what it was. It just had the poster. So everyone was just so crazy about it. But that being said, we realized that even though that is great, everyone is just so crazy to see this movie. I mean, really, this movie, we're just making this movie for ourselves before anything else. But the thing is, we still have costs. We have to fly to Azores, and there's just every small thing when you're with a crew, it costs money, So we have to raise money for that. And then there's also the production cost, because that's where we're going to film the interviews. There's a lot of scenes and stuff we're going to film. So, we definitely estimated all those things, and the cost is around 45K. It's the minimum amount. But that being said, by the way, when the first person I went to after I had Mark, and actually Adam, because he was he was going to be the technical consultant, I went to Kevin from Wizard Sardine, And I mean, I knew he was gonna like the movie. I know this is a movie he wants to see, and he was the first one who said he's gonna support that. So we know we could make it to Azores and everything and have everything sorted out there. And then after I put out a poster, like Chris from Cedar, he just said, "I don't care what you're doing. I don't know what this is. I just want to be a part of it. I want to support it." So, you know, we got that amount of support from the beginning. But currently, the way we're gonna try to make this happen is like I just said. I just think it makes sense to have. I just feel like Bitcoin companies should be a part of this movie because they're relevant, and I do, and I think you can integrate them artistically really well. I like my commercials, and I think you can even see them as a mini movie and stuff like that. We're trying to pitch to Bitcoin companies right now. And did I break up myself? I think so. So we're going to feature their product in the movie in an artistic way that's consistent with the story and the cinematography. And maybe some of them want to even be executive producers. And you know, we just see it as purely as a business deal. You know, we make a movie. Some people are going to watch it. You want to be a part of this? We'll pay us some money, and they get to keep the commercial afterwards. I don't know if this is going to work, but if it's going to work, I think it's going to be incredible. So, yeah, I hope I didn't ramble too long.
Interesting approach.
Yeah, did you watch the film The Greatest Movie Ever Made? Does it ring a bell?
Is it about that guy who was, I don't remember his name, who was like just making very low quality movies or something? The one with the long hair?
He's the guy that did Super Size Me, the documentary of the guy that eats McDonald's every day, like every meal for 30 days. He got pretty famous. Sorry?
Anyway, sorry, carry on. Where are you going with this?
So he made another film that I highly recommend. It's just very, very funny. It's called The Greatest Movie Ever Made. And basically the documentary itself is him making the documentary and going to pitch his idea to different companies. And he's explaining the film industry and how to raise money and the sponsorship and product placement industry in Hollywood while he's doing his documentary. So there's extracts where he goes and he pitches, for example, Mini Cooper, so that they help him for the film. And from that moment on, whenever there's a scene when there's a car, there's a Mini Cooper there, right? He goes and like pitches the pomegranate drink. And from that moment on, every interview that happens in the film, the interviewee on the table has one of these drinks on the table, and he just and for each of the brands that he partnered with for the film, he made one direct advertisement in the film itself. So during some transitions in the film, there's a cut to just like an ad of, I mean, the funniest one in this is a shampoo that is both for horses and for humans. And so there's him shampooing his kids in a bath, and then he goes out the window and he's shampooing a horse. And just, he implements these advertisements in his film because that's the whole premise of the film. Anyway, I recommend watching it. It made me think.
Oh my God. I mean, that's really kind of like how, I mean, we want to definitely make it a bit tongue-in-cheek, and it's like, obviously these guys paid us for it, and we're going to be transparent about it. But I also think like where there's room to, again, like if we're going to have a wallet, why not have your wallet and, plan that a bit and still deliver a story? Yeah, that's exactly how I want to do it, exactly like that. I don't know if this works, but you guys were saying like, how do you make money? I just feel that with internet and all this stuff, there's no more intermediaries. So why not just, if you're the movie maker, why not try to have your business model there, But I don't know if it's gonna work. I hope it. And what I mean by work, if people are gonna be open to this, because I know for a fact artistically we can make that in an interesting way,
Rob just messaged us on Telegram that he had to disappear because there is a fire alarm in his office. So I hope at least he makes a video of it.
Yeah.
And maybe we can show it at the film club. I didn't get, Alex, the total estimated sum of your budget. Sorry for pushing for that.
I'm sorry, 45. No, it's perfectly fine. We definitely, again, we're raising money, and as I said, we're approaching it as a startup in a lot of ways, working on our pitch deck and stuff like this. So yeah, it's 45K. 45K is the bare minimum to cover all the everything, which is kind of funny. That's the same sum that Pierre, I really have it written down. I didn't just copy what he said for what it's worth.
Rob is back. Rob, what happened? Is the fire alarm false flag?
It's a false flag. Yeah, I don't know what happened. It was a really loud alarm, and as soon as I packed up to leave, it went off. So, not sure, not sure what happened, but yeah, what I miss.
You know that meme with that puppy who says everything is fine when the building is in flames? You could have been that person now.
I would have just stayed here, but it was so loud, like right in this room, that I wanted to like get out of here. So loud. But yeah, that's kind of what it felt like.
So guys, all 3 movies could be seen in April at BFF in Warsaw. I can already announce that we are planning at least 4 like categories of awards: the best movie, the best story, because it's a different thing, the best non-documentary, and the plebs award. So the first 3 categories are gonna be judged by an artistic jury of the festival, and the other one will be most probably voted with Sats through Gazer, our close partner. So guys, I wish you will release it by then. I'm sure that Rob will. Pierre probably, if he will not.
I mean, that's clearly my objective. Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. How I manage, but that's definitely my objective. I would really want my film to screen at the next edition of the Film Fest.
Alex, you think you can finish?
100%. I mean, I can even give you a guarantee in writing it's going to be done by then. Yeah, it's probably going to be done in February. So it's definitely going to be done by, because as I said, the interviews are a big chunk of it, and then the other part we can film in a few months, and the scoring stuff with Mark. So yeah.
What is this other part? I would really love to at least imagine it. Is it gonna be like some close-ups and Wes Anderson perspectives on some objects?
So yeah, you see, the thing is, you see how Wes Anderson has, you couldn't explain his style, right? He has something in his head, and if you'd explain, it wouldn't really make any sense, right? Or I don't know, there's a lot of things like that, but I just like tools and artistic stuff like that. And another way is I personally, when I look at the lines of code, I see there's a story between them. I really do. I think there's a story when you look at how Bitcoin transactions work and whatever. But that's a very personal thing, and it's in my head. So that's going to be a lot of about, this transaction has inputs and outputs. Well, I'll show that in an interesting way, which is somewhat of my cinematographical style. Or maybe show, I don't know, a pile of keys or something like that in that commercial or whatever, So it's going to be very stylized like that. That's how it is. And it's hard to explain because it's like, if I could have explained it with words, I wouldn't make the movie. I would just write an article, where I would take a picture of it or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I will admit, a lot of things I know how they're going to be shot, but a lot of them are going to be dependent on the interviews. So until I shoot the interviews and I know what the people are going to say, I know where the direction is and how I'm going to lead the interviews, but I don't know what is going to come out of their mouth, But it's going to be very stylized.
Yeah. So you mean that you're going to run an interview, and then you're going to film the B-roll based on what was said in the interview to illustrate what the interviewee says, right?
Sometimes illustrate, sometimes comment. Like I said, F4 Fake is one of the best movies that was ever made, in my opinion, and it's a masterclass in editing. And it's a movie about fakery, right? And Orson Welles, he just has an opinion on fakery, but he also interviews some art fakers. And sometimes he even makes up a small, at some point he just makes up a story about how a girl met with Picasso. It's clearly made up, but he stages it and makes it it's in the story. So I might also do that. I make up some absurd thing, just to put it like that. So yeah, it's gonna be highly stylized. I will promise I'm gonna share more details about it, but again, keep in mind, I'm in pre-production right now, right? And we're gonna have a trailer in October and stuff like that, so there will be a bit more clarity and stuff like that. And we will, again, the first person starring in it is Josie Bake, which I just think he's one of the smartest people I ever met in my life, and probably he's very smart. He's one of the smartest people in Bitcoin. The way he talks about technology and how he likes technology, it's just exactly how I like it. But that's gonna be cool. And we have 2 more people. One of them we're gonna announce tomorrow. I don't want to say who it is, but I'll tell you it's a girl, and she really likes the code in Rust. So it's kind of a weird thing, because kind of like a Wes Anderson thing about people who like are protocol developers, and there's some guy, me, who tells that sees a story between line of code. So I can understand how odd it sounds.
Well, yeah, it sounds a bit particular, that's for sure. But it's it makes it it makes me look forward to it. But I also wanted to ask Rob, actually, if we just jump. In your film, there's a lot of U.S. countryside, at least in the trailer, I mean, right? And I wonder how much this. So, because we see in the trailer, there's just some people that don't seem to know anything about Bitcoin. That you ask Bitcoin, you ask them about Bitcoin. There's some scenes of someone riding a horse, which, I mean, it's like, for someone from Europe, it's like so American, right? And it truly is, right? And how much of just this idea that I got from watching your trailer is actually represented in the film?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's definitely an American film. I really, sort of wanted to showcase Texas and sort of the Western, cowboy style Americana. How much of the trailer? That's a good question. Some of the stuff that you saw in the trailer is going to be in the director's cut, which means it was cut from the initial theatrical screening. Like the two guys at the end, the guy in the Trump hat, the guy that said Bitcoin's going to get bigger and spread like wildfire. Those were both interviews in Rockdale, Texas, which is where Riot Platforms, formerly Riot Blockchain, largest Bitcoin mining operation in North America. I filmed there, and I filmed Jason Les and Chad Everett Harris. Had a really great, mining section, and went into the town. And for those particular scenes, I basically just set up outside of a gas station and stopped people and asked them if they had ever heard of Bitcoin or what they knew about it. And everybody knew about Riot being in town, just because of the amount of jobs that it's provided. But most of them really didn't know. They weren't Bitcoiners. Like, they didn't know what it was. They didn't really know anything about it. So the whole mining section got cut from the initial theatrical release, but that's going to be in the director's cut, which I'm hopefully going to be screening at the meme party, at the meme factory having party in El Salvador. So I'm kind of saving that scene, as well as a couple other scenes. When I was editing, the film was, up over 100 minutes, so it was like an hour, between an hour 45 and 2 hours. And that was just kind of too long for a film festival. I thought that my chances as an unknown filmmaker would be increased getting into one of these documentary festivals if the film was shorter. So the theatrical cut is 86 minutes long, and so it's nice and tight. And the guy on the horse, he's in the film. His name's Cole Bolton, and he's from KNC Cattle in Texas, which is part of the Beef Initiative. The very first shot in the film, or not in the film, in the trailer that I showed you, is Texas Slim. So he was the first guy with a cowboy hat on. And so, one of the storylines in the film is the Beef Initiative with KNC Cattle. And I'm trying to think anybody else in the trailer that was cut out. Whenever I came across people, like when I was filming with Katie the Russian and Jessica Hodler on that boat, the boat captain, they gave him a tip one time in Bitcoin, And so I wanted to ask him about that. So basically, whenever I was like just filming out in the world with my sort of main characters, and they would be interacting with somebody, you know, just kind of like a normie, everyday person, I would always try and stop and ask the person what they knew about Bitcoin. And so I included a few of those people in the film, and everyone had heard of it. None of them had used it. None of them knew how to use it or why.
Okay, yeah, I see. Yeah, interesting. That's I think it's always fun to like get an idea of what is in the trailer as opposed to what isn't there, especially in documentary filmmaking, because I mean, Hollywood films oftentimes, especially nowadays, the best parts are in the trailer. Right?
Yeah, that's definitely a trick. You're totally right, and I've noticed that over the years in trailers. And you know, the way I kind of look at it is like a cut scene or like an alternate scene or an extended scene. Sometimes those things are really good to use in a trailer, and you know, it kind of gives you a little taste of what's going to be in the film. But yeah, it might not necessarily be in the film.
Mm.
But most of
I
what
have
you
a
saw
question.
is in the film. Yeah.
I have a question. What did you start with? I mean, you definitely started with something with a high bit diff because I could see the colors in the even on Twitter it was visible.
Yeah, thanks. I used a couple different cameras in the film. The main one was the Blackmagic Ursa Mini Pro 4.6K camera, and then a Blackmagic 6K Pocket Cam was a B camera that we used, and I also used the 6K Pocket Cam for a couple of the key interviews towards the end. And on only like 2 of the interviews, I used a completely different random camera, which was the Panasonic EVA1. And I used that because that was what was available. But I wanted to use the Blackmagic cameras for this because they have a good color space, they have a good picture, and I thought if we color corrected in DaVinci Resolve, that it would look good.
Yeah, it looks good, and also like you shoot raw, right? So you have all the latitude, whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah,
was
no, it looks very good. Even on
Yeah.
Twitter, you can see the colors. That's what I was saying.
Good, thank you. Yeah, the final thing that we're working on now is the sound mix and the color grade. So once we do those 2 things, and those are happening like this month, but the film is picture locked, so everything is set in the film right now.
By the way, did you rent this, or did you have like your own cinema, your Blackmagics and stuff like that?
I rented everything. I probably at the beginning of the process should have just bought the camera, but I ended up renting.
Gotcha.
This must be very time consuming. How long did you work on your movie, Rob?
So it's been about 2.5 years. I had the idea sort of right before Bitcoin Miami 21 conference, and then I went down there and started shooting. I really thought that the film was going to be done like a year after I started shooting, you know, because it was at a good point in the bull market when we started. Everybody was excited. You know, I think along with a lot of other people, I thought we were going to 100K, and so early on, I kind of thought that the film was going to end at Michael Saylor's 100K party, and then come out like, you know, be released like a month later.
There was no
and
party.
so none of that happened. So I just kept filming.
Nice. This is interesting ventures you guys into. But Pierre did a film, and his background is not a filmmaking, right? Pierre, you are from a finance background, and you just decided to be to be a filmmaker, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm from a finance background. I mean, I studied finance. I have a master's degree in finance. I'd never worked in finance per se. I worked in corporate finance. But when I was working in corporate finance, I was on the tech side of things because I was also a programmer and automating stuff there. So yeah, but I always loved film. And even for work, I did some small video stuff, but it was like, I don't know, I did so one of the, as a consultant, I was a tech consultant, and one of the projects I did was for Airbus. And I originally joined the project just to like help them in their communications. Of course, you always need a developer somewhere so like I ended up doing a lot of code there as well. But yeah, part of the communication thing was make some PowerPoint presentations about quality, because quality is very important in aviation. And then these presentations just, I mean, animate them and voice over and make videos out of it. There was no music though, which made it very not emotional, but it was very corporate stuff. But in fact, it's this exercise as well that, you know, made me think, well, you know, if I'm going to make a film where it's just me, like telling a story about Bitcoin that I like, you know, it was my Bitcoin thesis, so to say, then it's kind of the same thing. Like it's just me recording my voice, so preparing some, you know, simple animations, which is what I did. And yeah, I mean, I definitely took, you know, my animation skills to the next level, but it was still, you know, I was animating all of this in Premiere Pro, which is clearly not the tool for that. But I didn't want to take the time to like learn how to do this on After Effects. But to be honest, I'm quite surprised at how much you can do on Premiere Pro in terms of animations. It's just, it has to stay 2D, of course. But yeah, so that's kind of, but I was always into film anyway. Like that's part of the reason why I did the videos for these guys, because I knew I could do it. I did 6 months film course when I was doing my master's degree in finance and simultaneously learning how to program. So you see, these were like really my interests. Yeah, and I did the video for a wedding, and like, you know, it was really just something I wanted to get into quite early on.
You, Alex, you were you said that you just wanted to become a filmmaker quite recently, but I know that you are quite active member of our Bitcoin cinema chat, as it is called now. So anyone who is listening to us but is not there yet, please enter not this one. Please enter the Bitcoin Film Fest, Bitcoin Cinema chat.
Shout out to everyone. Shout out to everyone in the chat there.
Yeah, shout out. Hello, everybody who is watching us and is on the chat. You can join at telegram.bitcoinfilmfest.com, and all of the Bitcoin cinema cinephiles and filmmakers try to hang out there. This is our place for those who love cinema and love movies. That's where also we picked up some of the behind the screen info from Alex, from Rob, from some other guys. So if you want to get sneak peeks, guys, join our Telegram group. And that's why I'm mentioning this, because I was surprised when you said that you just recently wanted to become a filmmaker. But when you speak about cinema, it looks like it has been always your dream. So what's the story?
Well, you know what the thing is with me is the way I go about life is very simple. If I do something, I'm going to die doing it. That's just how it is. And I mean, I've always loved movies. I was obsessed with movies in high school, but I was a geeky kid, and I've always liked computers and stuff. And then in 2012, I got into Bitcoin, and that's all my life was. I was a hardcore Bitcoiner. I had an OTC desk. I was involved in some mining operations. And around 2021, I was talking with Adam Gibson with Waxwing, and he wanted to do this. He's told me I have an interesting way to explain North signatures. You're not gonna believe. I can explain the blinding property in a very interesting way. We were sitting somewhere waiting for someone to show up, and I'm go like, okay, let's have it. And he explains it to me. He has this very interesting way. And I said, like, I know you have a camera, and you said you want to do some videos. Do you want us to film this? I was like, yes, let's do it. And Adam is literally one of the smartest people I ever met in my life. And he's one of the most eloquent people I ever met in my life. And he's so good at explaining anything. He can explain anything in a very interesting way. So we record this thing, and he explains North signatures. And this is the best explanation I ever saw in my life. I am blown away. And I said, this video deserves more than this. This video deserves an intro. So I spent about 2 months trying to find an intro for this. I didn't even know what a 60 millimeter was. I didn't know nothing, okay? I would just look at it. I would say, this is shit. No, I have to do better. Like, I was losing my mind. After a month, I thought I'm going crazy. But for some reason, I kept pushing and pushing. And I managed to make an intro that looked fairly okay. And in the process of doing that, I said, this is what my life has to be about. I'm going to become a movie director. And ever since then, I take pictures every day. I learn color grading. I do something like that. Everything in my life is secondary. Every decision I make in my life when I wake up is for me to become a better filmmaker. I'm beyond obsessed. Like, again, I practice photography. Like, if I walk on the street and I see something, my thought every time is, how would I film this? Where would the light come? And that probably sounds like, it looks like that because I'm intense with it, you know? So yeah, that's why I talk about cinema and all that stuff, because this is all my life is for the last 3 years, 2.5 years mostly.
And what was your profession before?
Well, I studied computer science, and in 2012 I found Bitcoin. I quit that, and I never worked for anyone or anything like that. I had my own projects, and I've did some mining in the early days. I built some apps with my friends that didn't took off, and the only thing I ever made money in my life, I had this OTC desk in London. I was running that with a very small team, and I closed that down because I wasn't feeling it anymore, and that's when I saw that, and then I made this transition and said I'm gonna be a movie director from now on.
So you both became a filmmakers because of Bitcoin, you can say,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's my case.
And Rob, you've been a filmmaker. This is your profession from years, right? You discovered Bitcoin later on your journey.
Yes, yeah, I was into filmmaking before Bitcoin, and it's what I've always wanted to do. You know, I used the home video camera when I was a kid. I did like the video club in high school. I studied it in college. It's just an industry that I've always wanted to work in, and so that's what I've done my whole career. And Bitcoin came later.
What movies were you doing? Did you shoot some fiction movies? Did you do an advertisement video? What was your, like, were you an operator or director?
Yeah, so I mean, it's mostly been in the nonfiction world, like TV documentaries, Discovery Channel, A&E, History Channel, BET, you know, the networks, NBC, CBS. I worked my way up through the ranks. So I mean, I was a production assistant, and then I got into the camera department and lighting, and just kind of learned by working on crews. And but I mean, yeah, I've worked on fiction films over the years. I've made a couple of my own fiction films, but I mean, the majority of what I've done, you know, like when I've been hired for work is all nonfiction documentary, mostly camera department. I mean, I've done some directing and producing as well.
So this is not your debut movie, right?
This is not what?
This is not your debut movie. It's not your first one that you direct yourself.
This would be my debut documentary film.
Okay. And previously you had like your debut fiction films?
Yes, but nobody saw them.
Share them on our
I mean,
Bitcoin cinema chat.
Nobody has seen them, so I mean, this is like my big debut that I'm trying to get distribution on. You know, I mean, I've done a bunch of like independent films that were passion projects, that were kind of like practice films. You know, I mean, I feel like it's just a lot easier to get distribution now. There's just a lot more platforms, you know, like when I started this, there was no streaming, there was no YouTube. There were gatekeepers that were like the networks and the studios. And so I think making a film now is probably just, I mean, you know, as a filmmaker, you have a lot more options. So, I mean, I think I have a much better shot making this film now than probably even like 5 years ago.
But how was it for you? Did you like discover Bitcoin in your way and you were like, oh man, I need to use my super skills of filmmaking. I need to tell the message to the world and let's do a movie about Bitcoiners?
I mean, I discovered Bitcoin a while ago. You know, like the first time, I'll give you just sort of like a very brief synopsis of it. The very first time I heard of it was in 2013, reading a Gawker article. I don't know if you guys remember that website, but it was about the Silk Road and sort of like the fall of the Silk Road. And even then, when I read about Bitcoin, I thought that it was too late. I thought that like it was going to get shut down by the government. I just didn't understand anything about it. So that was in 2013. In 2017, I was hired to film something crypto related at some small studio in Brooklyn, New York. And so that was kind of my intro. I got some really bad advice by the producer, and they told me to, you know, buy some Litecoin, buy some Ethereum, and buy some Bitcoin. And so I got like shaken out of the market even before the peak in 2018, which is not a bad thing. So like in 2020 was when I really went down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, Bitcoin only. And I was just spending a ton of time on Bitcoin Twitter, just trying to learn, trying to figure out what was what. I read The Bitcoin Standard by Saifedean. And then in early 2021, that's when I had the idea for this film. And so I'd been really wanting to make my own film for years. You know, like I've made some short films. Other people hire me to shoot their films. But what I have always really wanted to do was just make my own film. And so that's when I had the idea for Bitcoiners. And I was like, I'm just going to go for it. Like, I can't wait any longer. I think this is a good idea. I'm just going to do it.
I'm fascinated how different stories we have on how filmmaking and Bitcoin made its, you know, overlap. And here we are now after 15 years of Bitcoin existence, we have, well, not only coders, not only business companies, not only plebs, people just memeing about Bitcoin on Twitter, but we have culture and we have like, you know, visual culture, musical culture on top of it. Like there is motion pictures, there is like connection of all of this, and there is like so plenty of these movies. There is even like organization like Bitcoin Film Club that promotes them, and within them there is like 3 different filmmakers with different stories. This shows that there is like room for creativity and space to create something, and I'm sure there is so much more to explore, because as for now, as we've seen, there's been just documentaries movies so far. Do you guys dream maybe, or do you have in your mind some fiction work? Did you think about doing something in the future? I know that fiction requires a bit more planning and budgeting, but look at like, I don't know, Blair Witch Project. It doesn't need to be, you know, $20,000. Maybe we Bitcoiners can actually, you guys are able to achieve something, you know, very indie, that in a sly roundabout way with not super high budgets, we can tell good stories. Or you guys want to stay documentary guys? What's your plan?
I thought about this. If I could take that, I thought about this. I mean, I have an idea for this. Yeah, I actually initially I wanted to make the first film I ever wanted to make was, there's this guy called Art Forth, and here's the first one who ever mined with GPUs. He's this mysterious figure that you only know of him from the Bitcoin Talk forums. And he was kind of like Satoshi. He came around, he had a huge mining farm in around 2010, and then he disappeared, right? And there's like some pictures, and there's some only from what we know, what he wrote on the forums of how he made a first mining farm and the first mining software, the first time they used GPUs. And this guy knew how to use GPUs before everyone else, and he didn't want to share the secret. And I have a lot of research. I spent about a year on that. I gathered all the resources. I wanted to write an article initially, and I have quite a lot to make that in a movie. I just don't know how to dramatize it, because it would be a bit too dry to kind of like try to reenact it. If I come up with a creative way to not make it like reenactment, you know how they always do that. I mean, I'm gonna do that project for sure at some point. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see myself making a fiction film about Bitcoin in some way. I'm not going to share any ideas right now, but yeah, I have some ideas.
Nice. You, Pierre?
Yeah, me too, to be honest. But that would be. But basically, yes. I think like when I grew up and really loved cinema, it wasn't necessarily documentary filmmaking that was the thing that I was attracted to. I always liked fiction, actually gangster movies, to be quite honest. Maybe a Bitcoin gangster movie, but no, maybe not. But this is the kind of story that it would be great to be able to tell, just a fiction about whatever it is, whether it's something that involves Satoshi or Satoshis in plural, or like, I think there's just such a mystery in this story, and there's in general a lot of mystery in Bitcoin that I think would make for great stories. But yeah, we're not there yet. I think even the filmmaking skills on my side, at least, like anyway, I believe that as a director, it's mostly who you manage to like bring in your team, and hopefully they get the right ideas, right? And whatever ideas you have, they can actually make them happen. That's more the way. So in the future, that'd be something I'd really enjoy, but I think we're not there yet. I did like try, I did a short, like a 3-minute thing on Unreal Engine about Satoshi. Like we shared it in Bitcoin Film Fest. It's one of the trailers.
It's a bit
that we
shorter. I
showed.
think it's 1 minute 20 seconds, no?
Oh yeah, you're right. It's like 1 minute 20 or something like that. That was the first more real that, because there's just so much more you can do than the very simple elements that I've tried previously. There's much more, creating the scene, the light, etc. I've done stuff like that, but it was just simple filming with my iPhone.
By the way,
yeah, so maybe we'll get there.
Because this question appears quite often. Hey guys, do you have something else than documentaries? So yeah, there is already one 3-minute drama, not made by Pierre, but by Garcia brothers, a few years ago, called Hodl. You can find it on YouTube. But there are also feature fiction films upcoming. The one that should be released next year, but they almost finished shooting, and you can watch some sneak peeks at our Telegram group, is called The Bitcoin Executor. So it's a first feature fiction movie about Bitcoin. There is also Satoshi's Last Will, which is still in ideas phase, but Aaron, its producer, is fundraising for it and pitching it since few years already. So this quite ambitious project. They didn't start shooting yet. And another one which we learned about recently is what you mentioned, Pierre. We need some Bitcoin gangster movie. So there is one gangster action movie in production. I don't know, they're stealing Bitcoins or how it's gonna be, but its title is Rebel. It's being produced in Germany. They already did some shooting, so hopefully all of them will be eventually seen either here on YouTube, Nostr, or at least at the Bitcoin Film Fest. That's where Bitcoin films meet. Guys, thank you for today. We are still adapting and iterating with Bitcoin Film Club. We're trying to improve this show. I can see that maybe for the next show we need maybe one guest and have it dedicated especially to his ideas, so we can go more in depth, and maybe we can do these shows more often. If you have some ideas, let us know in comments on YouTube or on Zapstream. Yeah, as always, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Nostr, wherever you guys want to. You can sign up at bitcoinfilmfest.com or europeanhalvingparty.com to be signed up for our newsletter. We are sending some info. We've sent actually this morning one to our 200 subscribers. There'll be more, and there will be few hundred of us in Warsaw in April. April 19 to 21st, europeanhalvingparty.com. You can sign up there and just stay tuned, get invitation, and watch our movies. We will watch almost certainly all three of them that we've been discussing today. So Bitcoiners by Rob Johnson, A Fight for US Dollar by Pierre Corbin, and Satoshi's Don't Exist by Alex Waltz. Thank you guys for meeting us today. It was an interesting 2 hours. We hope such meetings only add up to the growth of Bitcoin cinema, and eventually we will be in the point where, well, you know, all industries will eventually adopt to the Bitcoin standard, whether it happens in 50 or in 100 or 5 years. We want to be there. We don't want only to show movies about Bitcoin, but also movies which are, you know, created with Bitcoin, that are distributed somehow with Bitcoin, that are being paid with Bitcoin. So this industry eventually also will adopt the Bitcoin standard, and we as Bitcoin Film Fest want to be there for this moment to happen. My name was Tomek Kołodziejczuk. Thank you all the audience, and thank you our guests. It was a good night. See you and good luck with your ventures. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot, guys.